So finally, it's time to go racing for one last time in 2023 as the RaceRoom Rank Championship Season 2 of 2023/24 heads to the home of British motorsport. It is, of course, the Silverstone circuit, and we're going to round things off with the penultimate round, the third round of the Praga Cup. It's myself, Lewis McGlade. It's my son, Zach Sweeney, alongside. Zach, hello, welcome. I think we're in for a bit of a treat tonight.
I think we are indeed. Of course, 3 weeks ago when we went to Interlagos, it was a ton of fun and really spiced things up in the championship, of course. And now, of course, we're in towards the back end of the season. Only 4 rounds, well, we ended off with a bit of a British sprint into the new year.
Yeah, indeed. Yeah, you were obviously there with Dara at Interlagos. Obviously, like I say, 3 weeks ago. We remain in Great Britain for that season finale. There, of course, heading to the Brands Hatch Grand Prix circuit, completely different to the opening 3 circuits of the season: Suzuka, Interlagos, and of course Silverstone, where we are today, and then Brands Hatch to round out the season in the new year. But of course, you know, it's kind of what makes this so much fun: the fact that we go to such differing venues.
Right, yeah, and I love, of course, across all 3 championships as well, that we go to 12 different venues as opposed to the same 4 that we did for Season 1. We are able to explore so many different venues, and each of the Canadas have their own respective sort of characters as such, like this one full of history, and in fairness, they are 4 circuits that really do suit this Praga.
Yeah, and it's not the only thing that's differing between each of the categories that we run in the RaceRoom Rank Championship. Of course, it's the little timetables that we have race to race, and how evenings work. Those differ between each of the categories. Of course, here they're in qualifying at the moment, and we have 2 30-minute races, the second of which is a top 10 reverse grid. So that's always a fantastic little bit of excitement, especially around a circuit like this. Of course, Silverstone, it's been a part of history in world motorsport. Opened in 1943, of course, hosted the first ever Formula One Grand Prix in 1950. Don't worry, neither me or you were alive for that one. And of course, underwent its most recent change in 2010. Location, Northamptonshire. It's a questionable one. That's fine. It is actually Northamptonshire. That's because it's where the entrance of the circuit is. But it is, of course, straddling the Northamptonshire-Buckinghamshire border, where the northern part of the circuit is in Northamptonshire and the southern part of the circuit, the international part, if you will, is in Buckinghamshire. Did you know that? Have I told you that 1,000 times
You
yet?
have. You have.
Of course, every time.
I'm fairly sure that isn't Donington a bit of a questionable one as well.
Donington's actually in Leicestershire, but a lot of people think it's in Derbyshire. But Derbyshire is 300.
But there's confusion.
It's 300 metres down the road, and it's because it has a Derby postcode. But that's not where we are today. This is almost sort of Northamptonshire, but not really. It's great.
Yeah, great circuit as well. It should be a lot of fun. Of course, fast flowing and high downforce. Exactly what these Pragas essentially are made for. The thing with Silverstone, though, is that sometimes it's too fast, too flowing as such, which can make overtaking a little bit more tricky. But obviously, with these very raceable Pragas, some of RaceRoom's best, and a reverse grid, should be fine.
Exactly. You can see it there: 365 brake horsepower, and only about 750 kilos of weight. Not a particularly heavy, but very much a fast vehicle, especially around here. It's a circuit that these cars have most certainly raced at quite a few times. Obviously, when it was the Praga Cup in real life, or where it was in the of course, Brit car, whenever it was in that. It's raced around here a few times. That's the cars, but of course we need to see them race around the circuit. You can see them in the background darting their way around, and that is because we're in qualifying mode, where you can see these drivers will be taking to it. Luciano Vitfurt, Mate Mikiewicz, of course, those 2 being 2 to really focus on. The top 2 in the championship, locked on 94 points between them. Peter Daniel and Villa Cravey are locked on 74 points. That is for a joint 3rd position, and of course a whole list of who's who when it comes to the rest of the markings. There is a look at the championship. I didn't even realise we had these sets. That's fantastic. And of course, Victor Stratum is there in 5th position. Fantastic to see the title race so close.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Of course, Vitfurt and Mikiewicz have won a round each. They've come 2nd in a round each. And of course, the way it works, the way the points are dished out, each round is effectively its own mini championship. It's the aggregate of the results across race 1 and race 2. And then you're scored based on your overall result for the evening. So if you take 2 wins, obviously you'll get the most points. If you take 1st and 2nd, but your rivals like 3rd and 4th, you'll still take the top points as such. So you're having to win a championship 4 times in order to win the overall stuff, and it's really promising to see Luciano Vitfurt and Mate Mikiewicz so incredibly close. Problem is, Lewis, I don't know if you saw, at Interlagos, Vitford didn't struggle for pace, he struggled for consistency, and I don't know if that's going to be something that might still be playing on his mind going into the second half of the season.
Maybe. This is the whole thing of like heading into a circuit like this. Maybe it's a good place to reset yourself. Once again, taking a look at the drivers. Of course, Evtachenko, one driver that we've seen quite a few times. We've seen Victor Strettman's up there, Petter Daniel, of course, Sven Mackenberg on the list as well. We've seen him race time and time again in the RaceRoom ranked championship. You got some of these drivers a little bit further down as well. The likes of Martin Prinder, Charlie Monk. Martin Toth, some of these drivers that we've seen show themselves quite well in the RaceRoom Ranked Championship, and it's kind of events like this where, I mean, for Charlie Monk, it's a home track, isn't it, as well? So maybe this is the time to turn things around. Yeah,
Charlie Monk, I have to say, is such a really promising driver. Of course, has won real-life championships at club level and has recently taken to sim racing. So if any sim racing teams are scouting, Charlie Monk definitely is one to look out for. He's just a driver that needs to hook up in the evening. No, but he has voted for me for the simmies. So
has he?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
So I'm kind of obliged to sort of give him a bit of a shout out in that regard. But no, he is a really strong driver. He just, obviously we see him in the MX-5s, he's had a couple of shouts for sort of podiums and top 5s and such, and the same is true kind of in the Praga. I think he has been able to take a couple of top 10s so far this season. He's a promising guy, and also he's done the right choice on that list of 10.
Yeah, okay, no, I will say, of course, it's a little. I'll give you a little shout out. Of course, the voting for the 2023 VCS Sim Awards finishes tomorrow, so you can vote for either me or Zach. But I would recommend voting for Zach because everyone else has. It's fine. No, it's yeah. Of course, even our broadcast director was like, no, I didn't vote for you, Liz. Goodness me. Understandably so, that's absolutely fine. Of course, we're riding on board with a little run around this circuit. Matej Mikiewicz behind the wheel. Don't worry, I won't throw to you and say the words. You should commentate on this time and time again this evening. Got to say, Nathan Maximin doing a really good job on this qualifying at the moment in that second place. I get the feeling this might change quite a bit though towards the end of the session.
Well, yeah, of course, they have got the back end of the session. Of course, they've had quite a while. It's 22.5 minutes so far. Of course, they get a half-an-hour session. We sort of see the final 15 or so of it. So they have already done plenty of bank lap times, but this is the time to hook things up. And of course, they don't get to finish their final laps. As soon as that timer ticks 0, the session is done and dusted. So timing is going to be crucial, but I think we have sort of reached that stage in qualifying where things are starting to plateau a little bit as such. I mean, they've already gotten so good in terms of their lap times, it's going to be harder and harder to get that improvement. But if there's one driver that can do it, it's Matej Mikiewicz.
The thing is, though, because this session is so long, but the track is so long, it's up there with Suzuka. We saw some improvements late on in Suzuka. I'm sure you might not have seen them at Interlagos, and I don't think we'll see them in the final round of the season at Brands Hatch, those late session improvements. Because the circuits are quite short, you already get a load of lap time. Because this circuit is basically, it's around the 2-minute mark, you've got to do your out lap, you've got to get on the time lap as well. With it being such a long session, I can see the improvements coming in those final couple of laps, even in a half-an-hour session. Sometimes even around here, that session will feel quite short. Petter Daniel, by the way, behind Maximin, I think is coming into the final corner now in the background and is improving on that lap time and does improve a tiny amount, but still remains in 9th position behind Victor Strettman.
Yeah, very, very close, of course, in qualifying. Just over a second separating the entirety of the top 10. So, again, proving to be very competitive stuff. Here is Matej Mikiewicz, you can see, improving to the overall best through Sector 1. Let's see what he can do, of course, on that run to the line. As it stands, a quarter of a second up on Maximin, and, well, we'd be looking to stretch that advantage just a little bit more. And, again, the problem with such a long circuit is there are plenty more opportunities to mess up, which means that you have to be on your A game for a longer time, which is even more difficult.
We'll also say, by the way, whilst we are checking in on the livery and also this car, I think we probably should give a little bit of a shout out and a congratulations to Jimmy Broadbent on the was it more than 50 grand raise in the race for mental health at the weekend. So kind of impressive things this car. Speaking of this car and impressive things, this lap time for Matej Mikiewicz said that we might see some improvements in this final portion of the session, and we're certainly seeing it from the Hungarian driver at the moment. Currently has a 1 minute 53.727 on the board. Pole by nearly a quarter of a second. Couple of snaps of oversteer as we depart the club chicane and head our way onto the Sir Lewis Hamilton straight. Let's see what he can do across the line. It is going to be an improved... Oh, actually, yeah, it was an improved. It was a 6.54.
Nice lap indeed, and of course I think his Sector 2 time matched his previous lap time, and it was Sector 1 and 3 that he was able to improve relative to his previous best lap time on, so a really good first and final push. And it's difficult to improve in that final sector, of course. The long lap, you're tired, you're stressed, maybe the tyres are overheating, and then of course you're focusing on the delta sometimes, so much so that it forces you into a mistake. But of course Matej Mikovic not fazed by that at all. 0.3 of an advantage. Well, that is going to be a good sort of footholds to have going into the race, but nothing is a guarantee. If I was Maximin, if I'm able to keep that, as that is Mihai Nej making an unfortunate mistake through Magnussen and goes back to the pit lane. But if Maximin is able to keep that front row, his main priority has to be getting the lead early on.
Yeah, I mean, I will say the important thing with this track, even these cars that are relatively, they're fairly low downforce, right? And they've got a decent amount of power, but the slipstream will play quite a significant part, and especially around a circuit like this where these cars are quite small. The raceability of these cars around here is actually quite high. Tyres and stuff will be a bit of a problem towards the end of the race, fair enough. But you can definitely move up the order quite quickly from the early stages. Although to be fair, at least Jonovic was trying to make it only a couple of positions that he'd need to make up if he's going to try and challenge his main championship rival. First and second sectors actually looking pretty decent, at least for him to maybe get onto the front row.
Yeah, of course, and it's a very important front row for him to have, but I've always said it, he's by no means a qualifier. He always makes up his ground in the race, sort of bar into Lagos a few weeks ago. He is a very strong racer, makes up those positions in the early laps, and coupled with such a raceable car, he should have no problem getting to the front. But of course, it definitely does help to start as far forward as you can. But to be, nearly 0.5 of a second, as I think he has invalidated, a little bit wide off the exit of the club chicane, and because he's had to bail back to the pit lane, well, that's qualifying over.
Yep, end of session for joint championship leader. Fourth is as good as it will get. Villacrevi might move his way up the order, about a tenth off our fastest time in that first sector, but that is a solid improvement as Obratau goes ahead of Felix Bjorn, but only moving up the single position for 15th. It's a very impressive session from Matej Mikovic, who once again is improving. He's up nearly a couple of hundredths of a second in the first sector, so we'll keep our eye on the lap from the Hungarian, who seems to have unbelievable consistency around this circuit at the moment as Villacrevi departs the Chapel curve out onto the Hangar straight, and the second sector sees him a few tenths down on pop. This could be a serious improvement, to be perfectly honest.
Yeah, good, probably half a second. I mean, as it stands, he's about just shy of 7 tenths off what Mikovic has done, but that's still relative to him. It's a good few tenths of an improvement, and that would see him up a very substantial amount on the timing tower. I mean, from Mihai Nej downwards, we've got, well, what is that? Just over a second between third and Kovalevsky in 13th. So, a small improvement could be a big gain in terms of the timing tower, and well, making small but definitely sure improvements is Matej Mikovic. He's got this final sector to go. He's purpled through 2 sectors. He's looking to rub it in.
Villacrevi has ended up in the 8th position as Prinda is another one in the final sector now, trying to improve. I think he's just slightly ahead of Matej Mikovic. He's going to come through the final corner. Surefire pole position, fair enough, but let's throw the gauntlet down to the rest of the field as he crosses the line, improves again, and sets himself a 53.622, 3 tenths of a second ahead of anyone else on the field. That is a very impressive lap time from the Hungarian.
It is. It really is. And what a claim that is, sort of in that very tight championship battle with Vitva, who is just shy of half a second off the pace of the Hungarian. That is a very positive sign, really sort of getting into his head. We've got, of course, Felix Bjorn, the Swede, at the moment in 14th place, but could well find himself a little bit further up. I don't even think he's going to
he's not going to
finish the lap. No.
He can't, unless he enters warp 9 like Star Trek Voyager.
Oh, no.
He ain't doing nothing. Goes for a bit of a spin, going through Copse, ends the session. Mate Mikiewicz then will start it from pole position. Of course, Maximin alongside on that front row, so fantastic from him. Before we get to Mihai Neg, obviously all three of those have picked the same kart, which is going to be fun for us. Before we get to joint championship leader Luciano Wittfurt in 4th place, Sven Mackenberg, Evtushenko, Gerhardt, Villa Crazy with that final session improvement, Victor Stretemans and Peter Daniel down in 10th place. Of course, there are 19 drivers on the grid, so we still have the likes of Martin Toth, Barriere, Kovalevsky, Bjorn, Charlie Monk down in 15th. I think he'll be a bit disappointed with how that session's unfolded, but we know what he's like in the races. Of course, Obertal, Prinder, Klein, and Gaspar Misch at the back, so I'm sure the jokes will fly out. Very sorry to him, but still, it's too easy. Did you make any jokes about Gaspar Misch mishing the corners at Interlagos?
No, I didn't actually.
What? You missed what an opportunity.
No, I missed.
You missed the opportunity. No, we can't do this for yet another round. As much as he was well in with the jokes, I think he might be getting a little bit.
Yeah, but nothing can top your tikka masala joke.
That was a pretty good one. That was a pretty good one. But that's for a different sim, so that's fine. A reminder of the championship table as Chris decides to desperately pull us off topic. Luciano Wittfurt, of course, Mate Mikiewicz. Mate being the driver that is on the pole position. Luciano Wittfurt, joint on points, will start this one from 4th place. Peter Daniel and Villa Cravey in 3rd, 20 points behind. To be fair, don't rule them out for getting involved in the championship.
No, for sure. I mean, with it being such a short championship, anything can happen. One small mistake and, you know, things can go up in flames. There's only 2 races here, and one bad result could really bring down jeopardize your overall points. I mean, if Wittfurt or Mikiewicz has an incident and they're outside the top 10 in race 1, that's going to then hamper their race 2 as well, which could, you know, see them drop a ton of points. So, yeah, it's big now, but, you know, it's growing that large in 2 rounds. We've still got 2 rounds to go. There's no reason why it couldn't flip the other way again.
Indeed not. Warm-up will come to a close, so the drivers are all going to get into their gridding process. A reminder as to how this event is going to work. We've got 2 races, and they're half an hour long. All drivers must make a pit stop. It has to be a minimum of 2 tyres in the pit stop. It could be front or rear, not left or right. So it has to be based on the axle, so front tyres or rear tyres. Not sure which one you want around here. To be fair, there are a few traction zones, so I might want some rear tyres. Very quickly, who's going to win the race?
Oh, good question.
Surely.
My heart says Wittfurt, but my head says Mikiewicz.
Surely it's Mikiewicz. Surely it is. You can see them all gridding up there, so we're only missing a couple on that grid before we go race. They've got about 18 seconds to get onto the grid before we go on the charge down towards Abbey, then up through Farm and into the village and loop section where things can get really tricky and tense. Must nail the start. You've got Mate Mikiewicz on the front row of the grid. You've got Nathan Maximin alongside on that front row. Obviously, Lewis McGlade, Zach Sweeney in the comms booth. The lights will come on and we will be racing for the first race this evening. Much better start, though, it seems, from Nathan Maximin, who has got fully alongside Mate Mikiewicz. Sends it down the inside. Look at the sweep, though, from Mihai Neg straight around the outside. And Mikiewicz has absolutely flipped over at the first corner.
Oh my goodness me, 3 wide as we run away in towards turn 3 as well. Kovalevsky and Misch trying to make up some places in the early stages. Luciano Wittfurt making the most of the early carnage and of course looking to take hold of the championship. Nathan Maximin, oh my god, there's contact and he's off as well.
That's another one gone. That's our front row detonated before we've even ticked off 4 corners as Nathan Maximin will drop down the back of the field with Felix Bjorn and Mate Mikiewicz. What a crazy start to the race it's been. Evtushenko to the outside of Sven Mackenberg as they work their way through Brooklands into Lovefield. And with the inside line for Evtushenko, he finds himself in 3rd position. Sven Mackenberg out wide, dropping back behind Villa Cravey and Peter Daniel, but he's trying to fight that one back.
Yeah, we're 2 wide, 2 deep as we run away towards Copse Corner, of course. Who's going to be the one to back out, or are both lots going to commit? Mackenberg, of course, trying to pick his way up into the top 5, and he's fighting away with these guys. It's Peter Daniel that remains in that 5th place. Sven Mackenberg eventually forced to concede. They're going to be nose to tail on that run into Maggots and Beckett's, but my oh my, what a chaotic start. And, well, Mihai Neg, he just flew, just didn't wait around at all, made the most of those cold tyres.
Absolutely incredible. Do remember, of course, the reverse grid for the second race is the top 10. So if you are the likes of Mate Mikiewicz, it's not necessarily over. You can fight your way back into it. Yes, 14 seconds off the race lead, that ain't happening. But at least, you know, the potential of getting yourself into reverse grid contention with the pace of the Hungarian. I wouldn't necessarily rule that one out as Gaspar Misch and Jakub Kowalewski go a bit of side-by-side. You can see in the background there, that side-by-side coming down into club, the inside line being taken from Gaspar Misch, and he will hold 13th position. We keep our eye on Sven Mackenberg, and you can see ahead of him, it's extremely close between Daniel and Cravey.
Yeah, let's going to see if there's any moves into this first sector, of course, through Abbey. Little bit of a wash from Petter Daniel. That is going to allow Mackenberg, of course, to close the gap, but I don't really think there's going to be much of an opportunity. However, there might well be. Sven Mackenberg launches one, or at least a look to the inside of turn 3. I think that's done him more harm than good, but you can see he's very intentful for that 5th place. Yeah,
exactly. That was a big old look, and once again, there's a couple in the background as well. I think it might have been Victor Stretman's trying to get past Radoslav Obratau. Look at the top 2 that have cleared away as Luciano Vitfurt started closing his way onto the rear end of the Romanian. Mihai Nega continues to lead. Evtushenko looking backwards and defending from the feisty Finn of Villa Cravey. We'll try and get down the inside of the Brooklands. Backs out of that one. A slightly wide line from Evtushenko, but this can actually work at Luffield. Diamonding off the corner, going for that late run out, and it seems to have worked for him.
Yeah, because you can carry speed in and out of the corner. The only problem is getting that apex rotation. But if you can put your power down in a straight line, you could well have a look going into Kopp's corner, albeit probably not the wisest of things. Can be done. 3-way fight, of course, for the final podium places as the top 2 are beginning to stretch the legs and take off out in front, but never say never, still pit stops to come, and Petter Daniel really driving the wheels off that car, trying to stay all over the rear end of Vilo Cravey because of just how vital that slipstream is.
Oh, Charlie Monk has been round. It's somewhere in Maggots. I think it's through the start of it. Maggots, you can see him actually in the background there on the grass. So a big shame there for Charlie Monk, who now drops behind Matej Mikiewicz, gives him a position back to the Hungarian. And Petter Daniel gets his way past Villa Cravey as we see Luciano Vitfurt 7/10 off the rear end of Mihai Neg. So he is closing. He's dropped off a little bit, but he's keeping that gap nice and close as we head our way onto the 3rd lap of proceedings.
As long as they sort of continue to gain, I don't see any reason for Vitfurt to go for the move so early. Probably wait until after the pit stops, just so they know that they've got that top 2 secure worst case scenario. As it stands, Evtushenko, Petter Daniel, Vilo Cravey, they are still too big of a threat to really be battling tooth and nail for positions. Let these guys squabble themselves out in that fight for 3rd, then you do your 1v1 out in front. They have both got some good pace. Vitfurt's not being slowed down too much behind Neg, and maybe Neg is even quicker than Vitfurt at this stage. But either way, both of them as a collective are gaining, and that's doing more good than harm.
Exactly. Like they're it's kind of one of those ones of like, if Luciano Vitfurt fights now, he'll bring the rest of them back in, and then the worst he can finish is, well, outside of the top 10, to be perfectly honest. Whereas if they don't fight now, and then they carry on to pull out, let's say a 10-second gap, which sounds ridiculous, but on the pace they're on, it's not actually that crazy. Once they get to that point and they fight, the worst is going to finish in 2nd place, realistically. Outside of an incident, a crash, something like that. Just like, wait in that, because then your actual worst position is lower. Yes, you might have actually foregone an opportunity to take over the race, and maybe even that will cost you for the race win. Maybe you didn't go over the attack early enough, but your potential lowest finish is better, and thus, as an overall, it is a game. That's a strategic play. Science.
Yes, exactly. Oh, that's sideways as well. But also on a day where Mikiewicz is so low, you've got to bag points. 2nd or 1st, it helps. You would still probably come out on top on the overall round. We've got a bit of a side-by-side here. Vilo Cravey making that mistake, of course, going into Chapel. It's given Sven Mackenberg the outside going into Stowe. With the agility of these Pragas, it might well be a look, and it is going to be. He's going to sail his way the long way round to take 5th place. Sven Mackenberg, not bad.
Not bad indeed, and like you say, you've got Gerhardt off the rear end of this one. We ride on board with Sven Mackenberg looking back to Villa Cravey. Gerhardt with a couple of snaps of oversteer as they come through the chicane, and once again through the final corner and out onto the start-finish straight as we ride on board now with Villa Cravey. Eyes forward, only forward, not focusing on Gerhardt, who's on the rear end, who might potentially go for a move into this section here at the Village of Luton complex.
Yeah, and that's the problem with Vilo Cravey. He's looking forwards to attack, backwards to defend, and sideways to keep the car under control, going into the loop, really overdriving it, shredding those rear tyres. And that is going to bode a problem as the stint goes on. Of course, the pit window will open in a few minutes' time, and then they'll have the option to come in effectively sort of whenever they want to change those tyres. But oh, there it is, exactly. In a minute, exactly. Side by side here as well. Vilo Cravey under pressure from Gerhardt, who does go for that move. But you can tell Cravey has gone 2 out the gates.
Yeah, potentially has tried risking a few too many things. Evtushenko's starting to feel the pressure from Peter Daniel as well, heading out onto the national straight. Of course, to look into the first corner. Doesn't go for it though, backs out on the throttle. Just to say, by the way, they're rising up the order. Maximin up now to 12th position after his issues in the first lap. Matej Mikiewicz passes lap of the race as he goes to 16th, side by side down into Magnus Beckers and Chapel, of course. Then Mackenberg to the outside, rushing his way past Peter Daniel. That was brilliant.
He has just got away with that car. His overtakes have been absolutely sublime. That was precision and just sheer perfection as well. Gerhardt and Cravey emerged side by side on this run towards Stowe. Who's going to be the one to come out on top? Cravey, of course, on the left-hand side. We saw it work for Mackenberg, but Gerhardt's got the advantage. He's ahead going into the corner. The pit window is now open. When might we see some people heading their way in? Maybe in the next few moments' time. Side by side here, I think Mackenberg and Peter Daniel going for the move as in comes Cravey.
Yeah, Cravey jumping straight onto pit lane. The only driver that's been into pit lane thus far is Felix Bjorn, but because it was before the pit window, it does not count towards the mandatory stop. I think it was more for a damage repair on the first lap. Probably got involved in that turn one chaos, and so Felix Bjorn the only one. But you can see, as much as it's got a number 1, it's not a green number, which you'll see next to Villa Cravey once he's departed pit lane and fulfilled his requirement within the lane.
Yeah, which is unfortunate, but it has to be done. If you've been absolutely totaled on the first lap, you've got to come in because you're not going to last the pit window without losing a heck of a lot more time than you would by eking it out. Of course, these guys still batting it out, and it could well work for Cravey. He's just going to have a lot longer on those tyres, and it only took him sort of 8.5 minutes to burn through the first set, so he's going to be having to be very, very careful. But if this pack continues to battle, Cravey with some fresh tyres could get a pretty nice undercut.
Yeah, I think that's probably what it's more about at the moment, and hoping to defend. It is a circuit which you can defend at, but to be fair, it's a circuit that you can overtake at. So who knows in that one? As Gaspar Misch and Klein are fighting over 11th position. They've had a little bit of side-by-side, a couple of swappers, and look who's joined their fight now. Matej Mikiewicz right on the rear end as we look backwards from Sven Mackenberg. That fight for 11th looks pretty tasty.
Does indeed. I'm really looking forward to seeing what this happens. Of course, it's Klein versus Misch, who, oh wow, big snap of oversteer, as now the opportunity once again arises. Misch is not going to miss this one. He's going to be going side by side, going into Maggots and Beckett's, and well, Klein is forced to concede in the end of it. It was a very opportunistic one, but he didn't hesitate.
The up and under though, look at the attempted build of momentum though from Matej Mikiewicz, going for a slightly later apex as they head to Chapel and out onto the hangar straight, pulls out of the slipstream to try and get himself alongside Klein and will drag his way past, unfortunately though, because the slipstream is being dished out from Gaspar Misch. That one is not going to work. I think Obratau is into the pit lane, as is Evtushenko. So the pair of those coming into the pit lane, as does quite a lot from this contingent. Matej Mikiewicz deciding to stay out on the race circuit and try and build some of the gap, get past some of these people before returning into the pit lane.
Yeah, not a bad idea. I don't think it's the first time in a while that he's had some clear air, so might as well use it, showcase that pace that, of course, had him the fastest lap of the race for so long. Of course, that is now held by Wittfurt, who, well, to be fair, is in slipstream, so is being pulled along by that one. As you can see, that gap, well, you said 10 seconds might be a little bit of a stretch, but 6 seconds already, and we're not even halfway through, so it very much is possible, as you said.
Yeah, exactly. They're pulling out. The last couple of laps, it's been about half a second a lap rather than a second. But let's be honest, half a second is still quite a large margin. It's pulling them comfortably clear. I think the only issue for them is that I'm looking at this, and the more I'm thinking about it, I do believe that we will see Nathan Maximin and Matej Mikiewicz within the top 10, within that reverse grid window. So we'll see those probably working their way up to maybe on the front row and hoping that the race start goes slightly better for them in the second one. Obviously, they have to be in the top 10 to get the reverse grid, so we'll have to wait and see on that one as to whether they can actually hold on to these positions. I know they're in them at the moment, but obviously pit stops galore and stuff like that. But yeah, I mean, if they want any real decent points from this evening, they need to do it. As here we see Gaspar Misch and Klein again.
Yeah, it's the rematch, and it's this time Gaspar Misch that's going the long way round. Klein is on the attack, but of course these guys all taking their mandatory stop. They've got a race on their hands with the likes. Mikiewicz, they're going to take it 3 wide as well, as Prinder tries to send the move to the left. He takes both of them into one and stops the car on the apex beautifully in order to take that 15th place. Nicely done from the Czech driver. And, well, that he covered off the up and under really, really nicely and is now going to be able to hold that 15th.
Glad we checked that one out. Martin Prinder, excellent move up into 15th position, as you said, like I say, doing the double move into Brooklands. Just carried the speed off the corner And again, absolutely excellent. Certainly not done though, because I think Klein might be inclined to go back through as soon as he possibly can, maybe with a run on the hanger straight, going down into Stowe.
Yeah, maybe so. I do love the name puns that we do come out with. That was nice. That was nice. Yeah, because whenever I see Klein, I just think of Calvin Klein, and it just doesn't work. There's no way I can bring that in at all. So there we go. At least you're a bit better than that than I am.
I'm really glad you're down this road.
That's why you're the dad.
So true. And I've got many dad jokes. They're just normally they're not appropriate for this broadcast, and so we're not going to go down that.
I need them.
No, don't. So not on this broadcast, Zach. Do not. As we see Maximin working his way past Gerhardt with a move, of course, going into Brooklands. Maximin working his way up into 7th position now, of course. Had drama on the very first lap, going out through Aintree onto the Wellington Straight. Alas, he's been able to work his way back up the order comfortably. He moves up into 7th.
Yeah, really, really good stuff from Maximin. Really impressed with that maturity to just, get on with it as such. Just wipe the first corner out of his memory and just go again. Well, he got to turn 4 before he, whether it was contact or just a twitch, he's just gotten on with the job and is continuing really, really nicely. Of course, let's see how things go for the remaining half of this race. He's not a million miles off this fight for 5th. After pit stops and such, that could close if he gets the strategy right. And of course, still 16 minutes of pure racing left to go. However, he's going to have to focus on keeping that 7th place before he can actually work his way forwards.
Yeah, exactly. And again, must work their way into pit lane. Luciano Vitfort has now bitten as Mihai Neg set the fastest lap of the race. Into the pit lane, Victor Stretemans as well. Does anyone else bite? Maximin does not, neither does Gerhardt. In the background, you can see Matej Mikiewicz did not either as we look back to Charlie Monk and Kowalewski fighting over 10th place.
Around the outside for Charlie Monk, showcasing that talent, of course, that he might have missed out in qualifying. He gets himself into the top 10, of course. This is a very, very in-demand position. Kowalewski is going to fight it the long way round. Of course, bit of contact between the two of them as they run their way through the Vale chicane. But the separation between 10th and 11th at the line might well be half a car's length, but it's going to be 10 positions going into race 2.
Oh, moving to Abbey. This one's not for the faint of heart, as Charlie Monk's going to get to the inside. We see Luciano Vitfort in the pit lane. There is Charlie Monk working his way past Kowalewski. As you can see, the departure in the pit lane in the background. Luciano Vitfort into 10th. Here comes a look straight back down the inside. Kowalewski fires it through into 8th position. These two are putting on an excellent show for us. Bit of contact on the rear end, though, and Kowalewski goes round Charlie Monk into 8th position, but slightly controversially, you can say.
Yeah, just a bit too deep, I think, going into the loop. Of course, it can be an overtaking opportunity, but it's difficult to do. And I think that was just a slam dunk straight into the back of Kowalewski. And yeah, I don't think the pole is going to be particularly too happy with that. Our race leader continues on as Vitfort tries to go for the undercut. It might well work, as there is Gerhardt off into the gravel here at Copse Corner. And, well, that is most certainly an unfortunate one indeed.
Yeah, exactly. Big shame, but unfortunately we've seen quite a lot of drivers be bitten by this circuit, and unfortunately Gerhardt being another one. As Matej Mikiewicz sets the fastest lap of the race, he's taking it back off of Mihai Neg, closing up a little bit to Maximin as the pair of them close in on top. This is a look at Gaspar Misch down the rear of the field. On the rear end of Obratau. It's quite close between them. Big slide there as well from Obratau, and well, it's not close between them anymore.
Yeah, no, that ship sailed very, very quickly. Obratau, of course, not doing too bad considering he's had to take an extra stop, but of course could be doing a little bit better. There is our race leader who stays up for yet another lap, really extending this stint quite long. So maybe just going for a really quick dash at the end, I suppose, but then again, he's not really going to have that long to be able to use those fresh tyres.
Yeah, exactly. We'll have to wait and see as to how things are going to unfold in this race. Like I say, that's what I like about this is the slightly differing strategies as to when drivers come into the pit lane, how they play things. They've got plenty of time to come into the pit lane. Yeah, I think it's like 8 minutes 50. Sorry, 8 minutes 30, 7 minutes 30, something like that. We've got plenty of time for them to work their way into pit lane. An expected 16-lap race, I'll say. It's quite close to it being 50, but I believe it will be 16, even with the pit stops, courtesy of how the lap times are around here. Like I say, it's 1 minute 54, and they're kind of sticking to that fairly frequently. So it should be a 16-lapper, which means we do have plenty of time in the race when it comes to time and when it comes to distance. plenty of time to work your way up the order, of course, which will be very important. Got to be in that top 10 for the reverse grid.
Yeah, and that can really sort of save the evening. I mean, for Mikiewicz and Nathan Maximin, of course, they are both going to want to sort of bag a decent result. Of course, top 10 in race 1. That's not bad. That still gets you some decent points for the aggregate for the round, but it allows you to score even more points going into race 2 and opens the door for you to obviously have that front row start or start towards the front and score more points a little bit easier. Of course, starting on the front row and starting at the front didn't really work out too well for Maximin and Mikiewicz in race 1. They're going to be hoping for better fortunes in race 2.
Exactly. I don't know. Like I say, I'm fascinated as to where things go. I think Lucianovic has got this one. Oh, do I think he's got this one down for a victory? You know, I kind of think so. I'm going to go and check Lucianovic's last, or the lap time once he crosses the line. This time, of course, you can see Mate Mikiewicz across the line now in a 3rd position. When we see Lucianovic cross the line, we'll be able to tell you roughly what time he's done. It's a 1 minute 54.8 from Mihai Neg, and knowing how close Lucianovic and Neg were. And the fresher tyres, although to be fair, Mihai Neg keeps setting really good lap times. He's gone purple in the 1st sector, so I'm not sure if Lucianovic is going to be able to close. Here he is across the line as he sets himself a 54.9. It's slower.
Ooh. So Neg has just obviously really driven the wheels off that car really nicely, or maybe there's a bit of an issue with the imbalance. Maybe if he's changed the fronts, the rears are a bit too light. If he's changed the rears, then maybe he's getting a little bit of understeer from the imbalance from front to rear, maybe being on those old tyres. Because again, they've only been on the car for not even 20 minutes at this point. How much wear can happen in sort of 20 minutes? You know, they're not going to be that much slower. And of course, they're going to be sort of rubbed in for Neg. If it's going to have to go through the heat cycle as such, get them up to temperature. Maybe it's not that bad of an idea from Neg to go long.
Yeah, but we were kind of discussing this back in Suzuka. I'm sure you might have brought it up a little bit in Interlagos. Yeah, because it's a required 2 tyre change. Generally speaking, I prefer changing as early as possible, right? Even if it's not necessarily faster immediately, it's because you've always see this from Martin Evtushenko over the rear end, not able to get through just yet, although it is going to be extremely close into the slipstream as we head our way back down into Kops. The old turn 1, Evtushenko is going to get to the outside, nearly a hit check between the pair of them. It should be an up and under though coming in from Evtushenko as they come down the hill into Maggots, Beckett and Chapel. It's not going to work out. What I was going to say though is the imbalance of the car from now on, because obviously you've worn the tyres a lot more. This is where things can get a little bit more tricky in this final portion of the race. It still seems as though Toff is able to keep Evtushenko at bay.
Yeah, really nice stuff between these two, of course. Both of them potentially. This might well be their ceiling. Flash their headlights, though, from Evtushenko. Maybe not entirely happy from how that went down. Didn't really see anything wrong with it. Toff once again having to go defensive. The driver of Evtushenko tries to go the long way round. Wittwer once again across the line. Still no Neg going into the pit lane. Mackenberg and Mikiewicz both come in. Mackenberg is a driver that takes the tyres pretty much as long as they can go. He likes to leave it nice and late. So Neg's going even longer than that. I'm fascinated to see how this plays out for him.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, to be fair, looking at the timesheets, I think it's going to work out quite nicely. Lucianovic's last lap time was still slower. Not by much, but it was still slower. The gap might be more than a second. As Maximin and Mikiewicz, as you can see ahead, switching positions. So that's because of Mikiewicz coming out of the pit lane in the top 10 with 7th place. Remember, he was... I don't think saying he was backwards at turn 1 quite does it justice, as he was upside down at turn 1, as we can see Gerhardt and Prinder switching positions.
Yeah, of course, again, this very hotly contested 10th place is going to be one that goes down to the wire. Gerhardt, oh, that's a bit of a slide from Villacrevi, whose strategy really hasn't worked out for him at all, having to take another trip into the pit lane. But yeah, for Gerhardt being round at Kops to now being back into the top 10 really does save his evening of racing. Is that Mikiewicz round again?
Mikiewicz is round. I think it might be with Toth. Mikiewicz, though, has been able to get back going again. Is on the exit in the love field, so he's dropped down to 9th position. Doesn't drop into the clutches of the top 10. Got to say, Villacrevi's been in the pit lane twice. Fair enough. I think it might have been maybe speeding the pit lane or something. I don't know. But he's on the back end of Prinder and Gerhardt as we see Mihai Neg is in the pit lane. It's all starting to kick off a little bit at this point of the race. Yeah, Villacrave can get himself inside the top 10 as there is confirmation of the Romanian in pit lane. The last driver to tick off his required stop as he gets back going again. We'll keep an eye on the gap between himself and Luciano Vitfort to see who's going to be into the race lead.
We eagerly anticipate, of course, his exit. Has it
Well,
worked
he's
out for him?
leading easily.
Oh yeah, well, there is Vitfort now coming onto the straight. He is going to have the momentum and the warmer tyres, but is that going to have a 3.5 second swing? Surely not.
I think Mihai Neg has played this to perfection. 3 seconds of a lead. Luciano Vitfort, though, I mean, he just needs to tick off some decent points. His main championship rider finds himself down in 9th position. And you'd have to say from there, is likely the favourite to win the second race of the evening. So it's more about ticking off some very solid points for Luciano Vitfort and maybe either topping the round or being second in the round and taking some decent points in the championship challenge.
I think that is going to be the focus, of course, for Vitfort, is to just maximise his points all today. Mikiewicz is just going to be trying to limit the damage as such. So yeah, for Vitfort, maybe just slightly cautious, trying not to replicate the same mistakes he made in Interlagos, trying to slow it down a little bit, be a little bit more cautious and just bag some good points, because he could well still come back in race 2 and still score some good points, and as you say, potentially still come out on top for the round as well. But I don't think Vitfort really had the best of sort of that when he pit to Neg pitting sort of time of the race, because Sven Mackenberg was able to close the gap to about 4.5 seconds, I think, at its closest. So Vitfort maybe making a couple of mistakes, feeling the pressure or whatever, or just driving cautiously, trying to bag that second.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't think Luciano Vitfort is the kind of one that necessarily drives cautiously.
Yeah, true.
But like I say, I mean, he's closed down a second already. So maybe there was something about newer tyres, I don't know. But either way, the gap's now 2 seconds. I'm sure with the carrot dangling ahead of his face of Mihai Neg, these are going to be some very impressive lap times coming in. They've got 4 laps left to go of this race because of where they're crossing the line. 6 minutes and 15 seconds left on the clock. It's definitely 4 laps left. Can Luciano Vitfort do it?
It is going to be the question. I mean, I'd say if anyone can, he can. And of course, naturally, as any racing driver would, you see a target in front of you, you drive quicker, you have that motivation. It doesn't, you go quicker when you're chasing than when you're just doing hot laps by yourself. It just happens as well, not if you're driving like that, it doesn't. Bit of a slide from Vitfort showing how hard he is pushing, but that gap now sub 2 seconds. The closer that gap gets, the more motivated Vitfort's going to be, the more motivated he gets, the closer he gets, blah, 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 blah. I think we still could have a fight for the lead. The only problem is going to be that clock.
Yeah, I mean, this is the kind of scenario, when I've been in it, as the yellow flag comes out, as Villacrave's chance of getting in the top 10 have gone up in smoke. And unfortunately, it's the smoke of his tyres round going through the farm curve. And he drops down to 14th position. Remember, anyone outside of the top 10 will start in their regular positions. Everyone inside the top 10 will get reversed in the order. Big shame there for Villacrave. As I was saying, though, for Mihai Neg, I've been in the position of Neg a few times, obviously not with Luciano Vitfort closing down on me. But all I kept telling myself is accept that the car's closing in, but understand how much time you can lose, and then work out what lap time you must do from that point on to make sure they don't close in. Now, from here, he can lose half a second a lap to Luciano Vitfort, and Luciano Vitfort will not catch. That's the important bit. That's what you need to tell yourself.
Yeah, 2 seconds is still a decent chunk of time to play with as such, and you don't need to drive the wheels off the car. You just need to do the absolute bare minimum, and that's even saying Vitfort has an opportunity once he is sub 1 second to actually go for a move. So I think Neg still is in the driver's seat, still in control. He just has to not let that ever closing Dutchman get into his head. He has to stay focused, focus on the driving in front, and honestly, if I was it, I'd probably just turn the gap off anyway.
Yeah, just drive your lap. Just drive your lap. I mean, that's what I do in qualifying quite a lot, but I think in this scenario, I probably want to know exactly. The thing is, even if you turn the gap off, we'll be checking the mirror every now and then. You can't help it psychologically. Unfortunately, there has been a retirement from the race. Charlie Monk has dropped out of this one, down in 19th position. Hopefully, we'll still see him in the second race of the evening, which will come up shortly, very shortly after this one. Like literally, it's within 5 minutes of the end of this race. So don't really go anywhere once we see the checkered flag. And if you do, make sure it's only to put the kettle on, get a tea down, and get yourself ready. once again, Luciano Vitfort's close.
He is, and he is edging closer and closer to Mihai Neg as each corner goes past. It's fluctuating a little bit, but it's sort of pushing back and forth just a little bit more in the favour of Luciano Vitfort, but it's not enough. Neg is doing what he needs to do to maintain that gap. Yeah, Vitfort's quicker and maybe give him another 5 laps, and sure, that gap could close. But Neg has left it long enough into that stint, of course, taking it all the way to the end of the pit window physically, where he couldn't go for another lap even if he wanted to, where he's now only had, what, like 14, 13 minutes left to defend, or not even that, what was it, 8.5 minutes left to defend that lead. That's not enough time really for Vitfort to close the gap. I just have to say I'm really impressed with how Mihai Neg has been driving.
I'll tell you one other position that's fairly close, but I'm not actually sure we'll see a switch, is that 8th, 9th position. Mate Mikiewicz on the rear end of Toth. Now, the reason why I say, I think Mikiewicz has got the pace to get through, but I kind of think, you know, if he tries to go through and then goes for a spin, Gerhardt's, I mean, he's 10 seconds back. Still, I'm not sure the extra couple of points, you know, from getting through and working his way up the order is necessarily worth the risk, when from this position, he's going to be starting on the reverse grid front row.
I wouldn't say it's worth it. I mean, if he overtakes Toth, he starts in P3, which is on the leader side, and could well do something with that. I mean, Neg did. Took the lead going into turn 1, so the opportunities are there, and extra points. He is going to be having Toth sort of forcing his hand anyway by going defensive. So I think Mikiewicz, even if he wanted to allow Toth to stay in front, has been forced into this battle. The up and unders there. It's the outside going into the braking zone for turn 3 here at Village. It's the long way round for Mikiewicz. Is he going to try and sell his way through? Round goes Martin Toth. And well, that's a free 8th place for Mikiewicz.
Yeah, just a costly error there from Toth. Was fighting it a little bit too hard with Mikiewicz. To be fair, Evtushenko's not too far down the road. Penultimate lap of the race, 1.5 seconds for the race lead. The next one where we might see some switches for position is in that Evtushenko-Mikiewicz battle, although the gap maybe is a little bit too large for even the speedy Hungarian to close his way through. Although, to be fair, if you're going to drive like that, Evtushenko, maybe the gap will be open. Big slide coming through Luffield, turning this into a Formula Drift car.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's got the power and it is definitely light enough.
It's got the power. Would you really classify 360 brake horsepower as the power to do drifting in?
More than my Golf, so.
It's got more than my Mazda 6, though, to be fair. My Mazda 6
well, any car has, I was going to say, it's got
zero brake horsepower at the moment.
But yeah, I'd say good. It's got a loud right foot and a low gear. Get enough to get these round. Could you hold it, though, is the question.
I certainly couldn't. I would trust myself to hold it in any car.
That is true.
So, no,
is the answer.
Penultimate lap of the race is about to come to a close there. Mihai Neg leading by that 1.5 seconds. Unless he makes a mistake, the Romanian surely has this. It's just whether he bows to the pressure of Luciano Vitfort.
Which he's not done for the last half an hour, so why would he now? Why is now any different?
Commentator's curse doesn't exist. Mihai Neg's going to win the race.
Oh yeah. Well, we're watching Mihai Neg right now. If the commentator's curse exists, a bolt of lightning is just going to strike his car and rid him from the race. He's going to disconnect through entry.
He didn't.
It's almost like it doesn't exist.
Do you know why?
And he's not a bad driver, and he's not been unlucky.
Exactly. He is driving extremely well, is Mihai Neg. Obviously, after that intense first lap, so brave is moving to T1 to go straight around the outside. Been a bit risky as well with strategy going long. Whilst maybe he's starting to feel the pressure of Luciano Vitfort on his shoulders, he seems to be doing everything in his power to keep the Dutchman at bay.
Yeah, he's just driven really well. He's just been on top form. His pace has been good enough. His strategical mind has been there, and most importantly, his consistency. And as you say, the bravery to do that. Seize the moment going into, of course, lap 1, turn 1. That was a very crucial move for him to get, because it not only got him into the lead and got that track position and started the race on a high, it boosted his sort of adrenaline and got him pumped up, ready to go. It also kept him out of harm's way and allowed him to sort of just have that space with Vitfort at the front for literally this entire race now. Yeah, and you can see that car in the background. That's not Sven Makkerberg, closing his way. You can see Sven Makkerberg, just that little dot on the horizon.
Yeah, not too far off the rear end as the yellow flag has come out as Felix Bjorn, which is not too far ahead of Mihai Neg. You can see him over on the other side, and thus proving the commentator's curse is once again total rubbish. The Romanian is going to come through the final corner, and Mihai Neg is going to win the first race here in the Praga Cup at Silverstone in fantastic fashion against a joint championship leader. Did everything right in this one as he takes victory here. Sven Mackenberg will also join them on the podium, but big drama in the championship. Mate Mikiewicz, joint championship leader, 8th place, as you'll see the rest of them come across the line.
Yeah, but that's not a bad result for Mikiewicz. That has really saved not only this evening, but also the championship as a whole.
Yeah.
I think that is a crucial result. He's got himself onto that reverse grid 3rd place. He can do a lot with that in race 2, and it's not the worst points score of race 1 either.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, as we take a little bit of a read through the results from the race, Mihai Neg in that first position, 2nd place for Luciano Wittfurt, 3rd place for Sven Mackenberg. As we can see the rest of the order, obviously taking a look, fastest lap there being done from, of course, Sven Mackenberg. It must have been quite late in the race, so very impressive. Daniel Stredemans, Maximin, Evtushenko, Mikiewicz, Toth and Gerhardt will be the top 10 that get themselves reversed for the next race. You can see the rest of the order here, but before we get into the second race, we'll just take a little bit of a step aside and have a word from our sponsors. Well, there we go then. First race complete. Excellent victory from Mihai Neg. Luciano Wittfurt and Sven Mackenberg behind as we prepare ourselves for this top 10 reverse grid race. Zach, obviously in the corner booth here with the legend, Lewis McGregor. You can't call yourself a legend, I'm so sorry. But the top 10 reverse, this is where things get a bit exciting in this.
I mean, race 1 was exciting, so if we've amped it up again for race 2, then bring it on. There, of course, you can see me. He's Lewis McGlade is looking at me, right? So I'm just saying.
Terrified of the competition.
Yeah, he's smiling, but that's nervous laughter, similar to when he wipes a whole team on a shooting game. But that's besides the point. But anyway, yeah, race 2 should be a lot of fun. Top 10 reverse, plenty to look out for. Of course, Mikiewicz starting towards the front. Wittfurt and Neg going to have to fight their way forwards. Well, do you know what? I'm quite glad Neg is starting in 10th because we get to see more of his moves.
Yeah, exactly. Put on an excellent one. To be fair, I say more of his moves. We only really saw one from him in that race, and that was at the first corner. If he can do the same thing in the second race he did in the first, which is take everyone around the outside at the first corner, that'd be impressive. Unlikely, but it
can happen.
It's not possible.
There's one time I want the commentator's curse to exist. It's now.
It's not possible.
The commentator's blessing.
I don't think that's a thing either. No, I don't think. I think all of this superstition is total rubbish. Oh, so I got told by an Ipswich supporter that when they had when they were on Sky coverage in League One, they always lost, and so that meant that when they had Sky coverage on League One, they were going to lose because they always lost. I was like, that is utter rubbish.
It's just a poor excuse, to be honest.
Exactly. Just play better. Well, you can see them taking to the grid. Surely Mate Mikiewicz has to win this race. Surely.
He has to. That is the bare minimum. For if he wants any chance going into Brands Hatch, he has to win this race. I mean, things are always going to be possible if he gets 2nd or 3rd or a top 5 or whatever. But winning, that limits the damage to an extent. It also depends on what Wittfurt does as well. But if Mikiewicz can scrape 2nd or 3rd in the overall, that's good.
Yeah, indeed. It is time for the final race of 2023 here on RaceRoom. It's been a fantastic year, but of course the season will not be done after this one. We are underway here at Silverstone. It's a terrible start, though, from Maximin or whoever that was in the front row. As we keep our eye on Mekiewicz going into the first corner, someone had an absolute disaster on that race start. I think it was Peter Daniel dropping back down the order. Plenty of side-by-side as they head their way into the village loop section as we keep our eye on Luciano Wittfurt side-by-side now with Maximin trying to get to the outside, departing the section.
Yeah, of course Maximin has got that outside momentum. Of course that's where things all went wrong for Maximin in race 1, fighting with Wittfurt, but a good start nonetheless from the Flying Dutchman. Same too from Neg, who's going to be having to hold off the two Czech drivers of Toth and Petter Daniel going into Brooklands, but I think it's all going to stay as it was. As you can see in behind, I think Neg actually under a little bit of pressure, but at the front, Gerhardt able to hold that race lead. Of course Mekiewicz retaining that second, which again isn't a bad result at all, from, or actually moving up from third, not a bad result from him at all. Plenty to play with going forwards.
Yeah, we'll say, by the way, we are down to 18 drivers. The one that is missing from the start of the race is, of course, Charlie Monk, although I do believe Bertrand Barrière is also, it's Radoslav Obratov, I believe, is also not in this one. As they're side-by-side here, Mekiewicz fending off Evtushenko. A little bit of contact between the pair of them. I thought Evtushenko was actually backed out of that one, but he clearly had not.
No, his intentions definitely were there, and definitely not impartial to going for a bit of a brave move, let's put it that way. So 3 cars fighting for the lead, definitely looking very, very strong indeed. There you can see Nathan Maximin fighting with Sven Mackenberg. I think right now the general consensus is to just stay as the group, stay in the slipstream, because as soon as things start to spread out, it's hard to close after that.
Yeah, well, yeah, your chances of victory are basically gone if you're going to go for a move, especially if you're going to get a little bit aggressive with it. So, first lap complete here at Silverstone, the second race of the evening. Jonas Gerhardt will lead. Mate Mekiewicz behind. Evtushenko, Strederman, Sven Mackenberg, Maximin, Luciano Wittfurt, joint champion leader coming into this one. Looking at the moment like he will take victory potentially on the round. Obviously, Mihai Neg in 8th position at the moment. Actually, he would be the one taking victory in the round. Luciano Wittfurt really needs to work his way up the order as Maximin works his way past Sven Mackenberg, who's dropping down the order a couple of positions as Luciano Wittfurt sweeps his way around the outside as well.
Beautifully done, and again, just that outside momentum really working for these Pragas. They're such raceable cars, so much so it's sometimes more beneficial to be on the outside than the inside. I think Mackenberg is going to be having a good taste of the Romanian attack from Mihai Neg going into Brooklands. He's braver on the brakes. Nice move around the outside for Mackenberg, of course, if he's able to keep his foot in going into Luffield, going to have that inside line, but once again, the sweeping momentum swings the way of Neg. Great mutual respect between the two of them.
Evtushenko, though, has had a bit of a mare. We have a new race leader. Mate Mekiewicz has worked his way through. It would have been at the same corner at Brooklands, but the Hungarian is now taken over at the front of the field from Jonas Gerhardt. Evtushenko's had a bit of a drama, dropped down into 6th position while trying to make that 7th as Mihai Neg was looking to the inside. Luciano Wittfurt's pulling his way clear as he's looking to try and take victory here at Silverstone, at least when it comes overall in the round, as Mihai Neg getting bottlenecked a little bit by Evtushenko and seeing the gap between himself and Luciano Wittfurt growing.
Yeah, he's going to want to get past Evtushenko as soon as possible, because if not, Wittfurt is going to go further and further up. He's not going to be waiting for Neg to get past Evtushenko. He's going to be trying to capitalise on this as soon as he possibly can. Maximin looking to go to the inside of Strateman, and the inside doesn't open up for Luciano Wittfurt at all, but the Belgian not really putting up too much of a fight as Maximin showcasing some really good talent, I think, here tonight. That great result in qualifying, that great comeback in race 1, and now up into P3 in race 2. Look out for him.
Yeah, he's absolutely flying here at Silverstone. The shame for him was the big drama that he had at Aintree. To be perfectly honest, I wouldn't necessarily rule him out from winning at this race. I know Mekiewicz is a little bit down the road, but you play your cards right on strategy and you never really know. Stretman's wallops the curb on the inside at Abbey and is starting to feel the pressure from Wittfurt behind. Not quite through as they head their way down to the village. Yellow flag comes out and Villa Cravy's dramas here at Silverstone continue as he drops to the rear of the field.
He's just had, I mean, he had a decent start in race 1, but apart from that, it has just been downhill for the Finn, which is really unfortunate because he's by no means a weak driver. I mean, showcases his talent in the other championships. I mean, sometimes he is different gravy, and there is Luciano Wittfurt moving his way into 4th. I think Strateman just not really too interested. I think he knows his fight.
Certainly does. The outside being taken there. Sven Mackenberg dropping back behind Evtushenko. Now 8th position, like you say. Luciano Wittfurt working his way through 4th position. He is now. I mean, at the moment, I think the swing is for the round for Luciano Wittfurt, so it's looking pretty solid for the Dutchman. But it's whether things piece their way together quite as comfortably through strategy. Wittfurt's strategy in the previous race maybe wasn't quite as strong as we see side by side coming up towards Maggots as the inside line being taken from Mackenberg. Not done.
No, maybe needs to try the outside. It does work for Max and Beckett. I did it on Theo Mercurius, who is a radical champion in real life now. So that is my thing I'm going to take to the grave through Max and Beckett. And Mackenberg definitely not impartial to going for that move. Evtushenko, though, definitely feeling the pressure as Mackenberg this time pulls his way to the right-hand side, going into Stoke corner. He's got to be braver on the brakes. Evtushenko gives it a go, but, well, he has to tuck in the end. Petter Daniel now may be interested in going for a move. But that's the problem. Sometimes in these reverse grid races, it is overtake or be overtaken.
I think we might see an extra retirement to the list. Opital obviously out. Villa-Cravey, I think, might join him. The outside line being taken here from Toth as he's, that's Petter Daniel rather, around the outside of Evtushenko. Kovalevsky has also dropped down with an incident at Stowe. But I do believe Villa-Cravey is out of this race. What a shame for the Finn.
Yeah, it's just been, as I say, on a downhill descent since basically lap 1 of race 1. Again, a driver with really good potential, just hasn't been able to extract that hit today. Unfortunately, Evtushenko looking to the outside of Petter Daniel going through Aintree. He, of course, is pushed ever so slightly wide, but has he got the momentum? It's a drag race now as he run away towards Brooklands. The outside, of course, for Evtushenko. Let's see what Petter Daniel could do on the left. He's going to brake a little bit later, go a bit deeper into the corner, take the track away. Evtushenko not backing down at all. The inside closes though. Petter Daniel seals 8th place with a pit window nearly upon us.
Yeah, it will definitely open at the end of this lap, so they will have their first opportunity to dive their way onto pit lane. Some lights flashing there as we look back to Bertrand Barrière, who we didn't really see too much of in the previous race, working their way past Felix Bjorn, who also we didn't see much of in the first race, courtesy of pitting very early on the Swede to get some damage repaired. And ended up finishing a lap down. Things getting close as well for second position. There is Jonas Gerhardt, who's obviously led a couple of laps today, but you can see Maximin behind. You can see Luciano Wittfurt behind as well. Do any of these drivers bail into pit lane early on? We think Mihai Neg will probably just go as long as possible as he did in the previous race. Does anyone else join him?
Maybe do they see the if they see the success of Mihai Neg, or do they just sort of stay true to their instinct and come early and go for the theoretical best of trying to get that undercut? But yeah, of course, Neg made it work really well in race 1. Let's see if any people sort of follow suit as such. No one in as it stands. The top lot all continue. I think the entire field all continuing for now, but they've still got plenty of time to come into the pit lane. But I think Neg definitely is going to try and replicate that. He's just going to go as long as he can, get some clear air, and overtake on time as opposed to on track.
Oh, a bit too deep there from Jonas Gerhardt. This could be it though, as Nathan Maximin's got to the outside. Watch for the up and under coming in though from Luciano Wittfurt, trying to drag himself past Maximin and onto the podium side by side as they head their way through Aintree onto the Wellington Straight. The slipstream's being gifted out to Maximin, the hometown hero, as Gerhardt assists him in the scenario. The outside line being taken now from Luciano Wittfurt. A bit of an awkward one there from Gerhardt, just kind of trying to straddle the apex as he departed Brooklands. Now on the exit of Luffield, the drive's going to be better for the Dutchman on the race down into Cox.
Let's have a look. Of course, Wittfurt not going to wait around at all. If there's an opportunity for a podium and to sort of potentially win this round as well would be a huge stake in that championship going into Brands Hatch, but nothing materialising as of yet. He has got to be mindful, of course, with Mihai Neg not a million miles away in 6th, albeit the Romanian not as huge of a championship contender and not as huge of a worry. His problem is going to be Mikovic running away with the lead, nearly now 4 seconds clear of Gerhardt. But couple that with the 8th place finish in race 1, as that is a sensational move if he's able to keep it. Small mistake from Maximin, and Wittfurt slides his way into 3rd.
Yeah, absolutely, and like I say, he'll be desperate to try and catch up with Gerhardt. I think the idea of any of them catching Matej Mikovic is gone. The Hungarian is checked out, nearly 4 seconds clear in a solo pursuit at the moment at the front of the field, and I don't believe he will be. To be fair, I don't believe he'll be caught. Mostly based on the fact that I just think he's going to run away. As Mihai Neg, I think might have come in he has come into the pit lane. So Mihai Neg doing the exact opposite of the previous race.
Let's see if he can make both stances of strategy work. I mean, I think maybe circumstances are different. In this race, he's more in the pack as opposed to race one. He was more clear and had sort of, he could, really choose what he wanted to do, and more so than he can now. So I think maybe being amongst the pack has sort of invited that earlier pit stop to get the fresher tyres sooner and drive a bit faster. Maybe he saw how Vitfort was so much quicker towards the end of the race and wanted a taste of that in race 2 and sort of have that late charge a little bit later on, similar to what Vitfort had, of course. Now we can see Nathan Maximin as we run on board on the rear end of Luciano Vitfort, who ducks very late to deter the move into Brooklands. It was borderline.
It wasn't a million miles away from being heavily dramatic, let's put it that way, as we can ride on board with Maximin. A couple of snaps of oversteer trying to depart Luffield, keeping into the slipstream of Luciano Vitfort. Jonas Gerhardt doing a fantastic job to keep the pair of these at bay at the moment, and the Belgian Victor Stretman probably not too far away from actually closing back into this grouping. A bit of a tighter line going through, Cots being taken there from Vitfort as we ride on board with Maximin, as we can see that run down into this iconic section of circuit, not working out in favour of Maximin at the moment. Got to say, you don't realise how there is quite a bit of a downhill going into that section. You never really realise it on TV cam. You do notice it on onboard. You certainly notice it when you're there. The drop down as you go into Magnus Beckerson Trap. It's quite a flat circuit, but I think that's probably the largest bit of undulation over it.
Whoa, run it as well. That's way too deep for Luciano Vitfort. Nathan Maximin now takes the opportunity to pull himself to the inside. It turns into the outside going into the chicane. He's got to be brave on the brakes. I don't quite think he's got the rotation as Luciano Vitfort holds firm in that third, but Gerhardt is going to be eating this up and loving the fact he's able to solidify that second place. The more these two fight, the happier the German is.
Yeah, exactly. The inside line's being defended now. Luciano Vitfort's going to try and do it. Maximin's going to try and get to the outside. He's going to go for the up and under as they come out of Abbey, up through the farm curve. Maybe a look to the inside, maybe a dive. It's not going to work for Maximin on this occasion. The pair of these fighting has dropped them a second off the rear end of Jonas Gerhardt, although to be fair, I think they've both got the confidence they can absolutely close down to the German once more. Klein comes into the pit lane and adds to the list of completed stops to Mihai Negev, Tashenko, Prinda, Mish and Barriere, as Felix Bjorn's troubles and tribulations with the circuit continues as he is backwards coming down into Village.
Able to get a point in the right way and continue on, but yeah, still time lost that he would most definitely rather not have. Still waiting for the entirety of the top 11 to come into the pit lane. Will be interesting to see how Neg and Evtushenko sort of fare amongst these guys. There is off the road. That's Felix Bjorn again having some more issues, I think.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, to be fair, it is a hard circuit. I think once you've gone for a spin, you've overheated your tyres a little bit, and so to be fair, the likelihood of having another drama immediately after. It's kind of high. It is kind of high. 6.3 seconds off of the race lead now is Maximin. Of course, it's 4.8 for the driver at the lead of this group, but it just shows how impressive how impressive Mikovic has been, considering how we know that Maximin is fast. We know Luciano Vitfort is fast. We know Jonas Gerhardt is fast. But this gap is just growing. We're approaching the halfway point of the race, and of course Mikovic, and rightfully so, has no aspirations coming down into pit lane. And Sven Mackenberg has got past Stretman. There's been a spin though for Maximin, and he has gone round at Stowe.
And that is even more misfortune going his way. It was such a good sort of first half of this race, but that is not what he would want to see. And doing the right thing, I think, is just biting the bullet. As soon as he's had a spin, come into the pit lane, get rid of him, start fresh for your next stint, and hope that you can still recover from that spin. I mean, he didn't contact the wall or anything like that, probably lost a good few seconds, but if he drives like he did in race 1, he could still bag a decent result.
Yeah, exactly. For now, at the moment, for Max, it's about getting some points onto the board in this race. At the moment, we really don't know who's going to be winning this round, at least, because it's more about Luciano Vitfort versus Mihai Neg. Of course, Neg won, then it was Luciano Vitfort, and then it was Sven Mackenberg, who's in 4th position. So if there's any drama for Luciano Vitfort, to be fair, Sven Mackenberg might sneak a decent result, although I think Mackenberg's more focused on potentially grabbing himself a podium. And when it comes to the round in totality.
Yeah, I think for Vitfort, his motivation is the championship and not necessarily the sort of the winning the race or anything like that. As long as he beats Mikovic overall, as long as he wins the round as such and bags those points, that's all he really cares about. 2 podiums is all he needs to do that as such, as is the sort of the beauty of this format. and I think that is going to be his aim. Mikovic, of course, as we said, the bare minimum for him is to win. That's exactly what he's doing. A first and an 8th, that might well be playable. There's also a little bit side by side there. Miho Neg gets his way past Strateman, the Belgian driver, making way for the Romanian, who's now into 9th place. Whether that is at the end of the pit lane sequence as such is a thing that is yet to be revealed. But for Mikovic, yeah, he's doing what he needs to do.
Certainly so. And like I say, Miho Neg getting past Romans there. That was the first place of the drivers that have made pit stops. As we see Gerhardt, you can see Luciano Vitford into the pit lane in the background. So the first shot of the top runners, realistically, is into the pit lane when it comes to that championship fight. Luciano Vitford calling it, coming down into pit lane. See where he comes out in comparison to himself and to Miho Neg. We're halfway through this race. Again, the final race of the year. Remind everyone of that we're not racing again in the RaceRoom Ranked Championship until 2024 when things return. And yes, I know it's the 2023 season, but things will return post-New Year, hopefully not with everyone hanging.
That would be...
Are you on the first round of the New Year?
No, this is my last one.
Oh, is it? Oh, thank goodness for that.
Oh, cheers, mate. That's fine. That's fine. You got me all of next week, so that's fine.
That's so true.
Yeah.
That is so true. I've got to deal with you for 4 consecutive days. Goodness.
3 hours each day. Good
what
luck.
Have I done?
It's fine, because we'll probably just go play some good old the finals afterwards. It's fine.
I don't think we will. I'll be sick of you.
Oh, that is true. Yeah.
No way.
Yeah.
No way. Yeah, never have kids.
Right, yeah, no.
Even commentary kids. As Todd has been out of pit lane now, dropped down to 11th position. Might even drop another one. Yes, he does, indeed, to Evtushenko. As we keep our eye on the race leader, work his way through. Taking a look at the track map in the top right, of course, you can see that gap visually back to Gerhardt and to Mackenberg, who now work their way through the opening portion of the Magnus Becker's Chapel sequence. But more importantly, you can see the gap from first on there to 5th. To 6th rather, which is coming through Luffield now. That is, of course, Luciano Vitford.
Yeah, there he is, and that is a decent chunk of time to have in pocket. But how long do they lose in the pit stop? What is it? Silverstone's quite a long and slow one, plus the tyre change. You're probably looking at a good.
It's not quite 40 seconds. It's not quite 40 seconds.
So Mikovic still has got some to play with.
Oh yeah, easily. I think it's something like 36 or 37.
So Vitford's aiming for second essentially in this race. That is his ceiling.
Exactly. I think even he is well aware that Mikovic is not catchable in this one, and that's fine because, to be perfectly honest, doesn't need to catch him. If he gets himself in the second position, the round victory, 2 second places, the round victory is almost certainly Vitford's, unless Miho Neg is third at that point as Kovalevsky comes into the pit. If Miho Neg is third, Miho Neg will take the round victory as far as I'm aware. I don't know numbers though. Never trust context maths.
No, don't. Unless it's Ewan O'Leary. Ewan's usually all right, and that's why he's the favourite commentary son.
No, he is. He's absolutely my favourite commentary son. I hate you.
You wouldn't get yeah, but I'm not made for a simi. So
poor Ewan. Wow, just got absolutely thrown under the bus there. Wow.
That was a low blow.
Oh my goodness. That was a low blow.
It's fine because he's short.
We're about the same height. Look, to be fair, of the 5 of us, Dara is definitely the shortest.
Oh, absolutely. First thing I said to him, "Wow, you're shorter than I expected."
Yeah, he is small.
Yeah.
So that's fine. Anyway, we'll drag us back onto an actual relevant topic of Sven Mackenberg. I think he might be closing in just a touch. He did close in about half a second on the previous lap to Jonas Gerhardt. And in fact, Gerhardt's previous, or his best lap of the race is a 55.1. And to be fair, Sven Mackenberg is running fairly consistently in the 54s. So this gap is definitely coming down.
Yeah, and well, with only 11 minutes to play with, though, I don't know if it's enough. He's going to need more or a mistake. And then again, 2 seconds. What we got? Like 5, 6 laps left to go. It might be enough.
Maybe. We'll have to.
I think he's going to need some help. He's going to need some help.
Well, Matej Mikovic is into the pit lane, so we're going to understand where the gap is between himself and Luciano Vitford. To be fair, the unfortunate thing for Mikovic here is he might come out unfortunately close to Vidar Cravey unless Cravey works his way into pit lane, which could be a little bit frustrating for the Hungarian. You can see in the foreground, you did not see, or rather, it was background from there. Villa-Cravey did not come into the pit lane. So we'll see if, because Cravey coming through. Nah, it should be comfortable for Matej Mikiewicz to hang on that spot. Yeah, he is. It's more just about track position anyway. As much as Villa-Cravey probably wouldn't put up that much of a fight, might have just slowed him down a little bit. Doesn't need to. 10 seconds of a lead over Lucianovic and Matej Mikiewicz has.
More than enough. Should be all right. This is the potential that he had from qualifying, and the potential that he didn't get to extract in race 1. Well, to be fair, he did extract it. He managed to bag a good result and put him in a position like this one to be so dominant. He's done everything that he's needed to do that's been in his control. I can't remember if race 1 was his fault or he just got sort of caught up as such. No, he was sort of sandwiched in the middle as such. Cold tyres and things can be put down to it. It wasn't a huge mistake from Mikiewicz. He's been perfect. However, yellow flags next to the Hungarian's name. There he is.
Oh my goodness. No way. Luciano Wittfurt, Mihai Neg comes through. Mikiewicz out of the race. No way. Wow. That's huge for the championship. And that is still not a commentator's curse.
No, just poor timing. Comedic timing, but poor timing nonetheless. That is so unfortunate. So incredibly unfortunate for Matej Mikiewicz, and that essentially signs the championship to Luciano Wittfurt, all things go well for the Dutchman.
Do you know what that might, I wonder if that has anything to do with the whole, because he pitted so late, the balance of the tyres would have been so off, it might have made things very uncomfortable on the car, which might have made it when you've got like cold and water, we don't know which side he changed, but let's say for example he changes rear tyres, so you've got cold, fresh rear tyres, but then you've got worn, so less grippy but at least warm front tyres. That can cause a very dangerous balance in the car, and that's why sometimes pitting a little bit earlier just kind of keeps the balance a little bit more neutralised.
And it allows the newer tyre to bed in before sort of the other one gets to that point. So I suppose that is a good explanation as to why it does promote Luciano Wittfurt, of course, now into contention for the lead, as Jonas Gerhardt is going to be under slight pressure. Sven Mackenberg into the mix, Mihai Nej as well into the mix, side by side for the lead. Wittfurt trying to go the long way round.
Yeah, this is going to be good for Luciano Wittfurt. Works his way past Gerhardt, and that will be for the race lead. Now with Mikiewicz out of the race, we've got 4 cars for the race lead. Wittfurt, Gerhardt, Mackenberg and Nej all separated by less than a second. This is going to turn into a thrilling race here at Silverstone. The inside line is being looked at there from Jonas Gerhardt. I get the feeling that Luciano Wittfurt is about to check out into the distance and take a very well-deserved round victory.
I think so. He's driven this round to perfection. And what did I say? He is firmly a racing driver. He just has to get away from Gerhardt and Mackenberg, and then he's got 7 minutes to cruise to victory. That's the best case scenario. The worst case for him is that Gerhardt and Mackenberg are continuing to apply the pressure. That slipstream, of course, on the run through the hanging straight towards Stowe. Wittfurt, if he can hang off there and have a good couple of corners to build a gap, he might be able to get away.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know. I think Wittfurt's got such good drivability as Mihai Nej's going to try and get past Sven Mackenberg. You can see how much of the circuit Jonas Gerhardt was using there. A little bit of bump drafting coming in from the Romanian onto the rear end of Sven Mackenberg, out onto the start-finish straight. Now, Zach, I don't know if you know what the ruling is, I do, as to what happens. We see Mihai Nej getting down the inside for 3rd position. If Luciano Wittfurt takes victory in this race and Mihai Nej is 2nd in this race, they both will have scored the same amount of points for the round. What happens then? Do you know?
Or fastest lap?
No.
Is it race 2, or is it the same? It's a tie.
It's just a tie. They both score the same points. They both get 50 points for the championship. So it's a tie round. That has happened before, which is how I know we can see that one. There is no tie break. They both just take the points for victory. So if that is the case, Mihai Nej and Luciano Wittfurt will both score 50 points. So there is no effect here for Luciano Wittfurt. At this point, he is scoring 50 points unless he makes a mistake. It's just whether he's the only one scoring 50 points from this round. Mihai Nej can obviously drag himself apart of that.
Right, doesn't make a difference at all though to Wittfurt, as Mihai Nej is going to go for that 2nd place. Of course, you can see he is under pressure a little bit from Sven Mackenberg before he can start that attack to Gerhardt. Around the outside goes the German. He is going to try and keep his foot in quite nicely, but I think the inside is going to close. Nej deters that inside and keeps 3rd place, but well, yeah, he of course does want that 50 points, but to Vitford, that doesn't matter at all. As long as he's the one coming out on top in this round, he's going to be essentially just taking one hand to that championship trophy.
You can see Sven Mackenberg's fresh kicks down there in the cockpit where you'll, I mean, they're not moving, that's fine. But I can tell you, in reality, that right foot will be as hard down on the throttle pedal trying to get this one back on Mihai Neg and get himself onto the podium. And hey, to be fair, they've both got the pace to catch Jonas Gerhardt as well. Gerhardt is the slowest of these four, but this shows how pace isn't everything. Consistency is more important, and Gerhardt has been, well, let's go with very consistent this race. He's taken his opportunity and has not put a foot wrong. It's been an incredible drive from the German thus far.
It has been. He's done everything in his power, of course. Took that reverse grid pole. And he's just, you know, he, of course, didn't convert that pole to victory, but converting it to second place when you've got such a stacked grid, a very, very proud result to have. I mean, that is insane. The quality of the grid, not obviously saying that Gerhardt is by any means an underdog, but the sheer quality of this field is staggering. We have got so many recognisable names from the top level of RaceRoom esports. That is an impressive result. Yeah, of course, he started towards the front and therefore was more inclined to keep it at the front, but you've still got to drive the car, and this Praga is by no means easy.
No, absolutely not. It's, to be fair, you know, with the low downforce and quite a high amount of power for a low downforce car, it can be a little bit difficult to put that throttle down, as Toth unfortunately has had a bit of a problem at the back end of the top 10. He might lose position here to Prindle, although I think might have got himself back going again as the yellow flags are brought back in, and certainly so. As by the way, I've called two people as retirements from this race, and they're both in the race, which was Felix Bjorn and Odd Patel. I thought they were both retired. They haven't. Obviously, Charlie Monk never took the race start, and we did have the definite retirement from Matthew Mikovic. We saw it. So those are the two that are not on the timesheets of the 19 drivers that we had entered here at Silverstone. We'll have 2 more laps to go after this one, which isn't a big deal for Luciano Vitford, I don't think, but it is a big deal for Jonas Gerhardt.
Yeah, it's one extra lap that he's going to have to defend from Neg, and to be honest, there is, apart from Vitford, I'd say there's probably no other driver I'd want. I wouldn't want Mihai Neg or Luciano Vitford behind me, is what I'm trying to say. I'd rather have anyone else, is the point I'm trying to make, because he will deliver everything in order to get that second place. Again, maybe not. Again, he's a racing driver. He wants to sort of tie win the round, and to do that, he has to get second place. So this is going to feel like an eternity for Gerhardt. For Vitford, it's just going to be hopefully a cruise to victory. But then again, an extra lap is even more opportunities for things to go wrong. I mean, look how secure Mikovic looked. Yeah,
exactly. Felix Bjorn goes for another spin at the back of the field. This will be huge for the championship, by the way, because, again, Luciano and Matej Nikovic, they were locked on points. The two drivers behind that were the closest, they were 20 points behind in the championship. That was Petter Daniel, who has not had the greatest evening of racing. Ended in 4th place in the previous race, 6th in this one, so we'll score some decent points this round, fair enough. Villa Cravey, well, he's down in 14th position in this race, and of course was down in 14th position in the previous race as well, so he had a terrible round. You've got Victor Stretemans, who is a further 10 points behind that, who is the next highest, who of course came off of a 5th place and is running in 5th place in this race. Basically what I'm saying is Luciano Vitford is pulling away dramatically in the championship at the moment.
Yeah, unless things like a double retirement and you know, the next closest wins both races and wins the round, I really don't think Vitford is going to be touched. I mean, look at how he composed himself not only over the course of last season, he was in all 3 championship fights and they did go wrong for him. So not saying that they can't, I'm just saying this season looks so much more secure for the Dutchman. He, again, yeah, exactly. After Mikovic having an unfortunate round here at Silverstone, more so than Vitford had it into Lagos, he just looks so perfectly poised. All he has to do is show up at Brands Hatch, score some points. Of course, he's not going to settle. He wants to go out with a bang and win the championship, knowing that he probably is so secure. But essentially, all he has to do is just turn up and not be completely dead last.
Yep, don't be rubbish.
Easy.
Yeah, well, it's easy for Luciano Vitford. It's difficult for us. We're generally rubbish anyway, like the best of times. But Luciano Vitford is clearing away. One final lap here at Silverstone and one final lap for the year in the RaceRoom Rank Championship before we head our way into the final portion of the season in 2024. Jonas Gerhardt would love to head out of the season with a very well-deserved podium, at least in the final race. He has to fend off the likes of Mihai Neg, a race winner this evening, and Sven Mackenberg as well, a podium finisher earlier on in the evening. That is not going to be easy. And he's just at the best the best lap of the race. I was going to say his personal best lap, but no, it's the fastest lap of the race. It's just been set by Sven Mackenberg.
Well, he's got the pace. Let's see if he can deliver in terms of the racecraft. I mean, he's only got really to overtake one driver, and he might well to be able to get both in one foul swoop if they can come to blows. He's got 2/3 of a lap left to go. There you can see the German immediately over to the left-hand side. Neg following, of course, in that slipstream, pulls out as late as he dares to pull alongside, going into Brooklands. How agile is he going to be? I think he might well be going for the up and under, but it's blocked off perfectly by Jonas Gerhardt. And meanwhile, Mackenberg is being reeled in, and now he's got a very good sight of that Romanian's rear end.
The fastest lap did not last long in the hand of Sven Mackenberg. It's moved over to Nathan Maximin, who's moved himself inside the top 10. We'll look back on that another time, to be perfectly honest, because this fight is enthralling. 3 seconds lead for Luciano Wittfer heading down to Magnus Beckers and Chapel. Jonas Gerhardt, Mihai Neg, Sven Mackenberg all embroiled in this fight for the final steps on the podium. Out wide Jonas Gerhardt goes. He is abusing every bit of track limits that he possibly can in order to fend off the group behind.
Let's see what's going to come down to this. We've got 1/3 of the lap left to go. The final one, of course, of 2023. Wittfer seems secure for victory, but what's going to come about of this fight for second? Gerhardt is going to have to defend like crazy. You can see weaving left and right in order to break that slipstream. Is Neg going to be close enough in the toe to go for the move into Stowe? I don't quite think so. It's all eyes on Vale. Let's see if he's close enough. He's giving it everything. Yeah, he's sending it around the outside as hard as he can as they head into Stowe. Barriere and Cravey have had an issue. The defensive line being taken. Jonas Gerhardt, though, leaves it open. A big send to the inside from Mihai Neg, who's trying to take over second position and secure himself 50 points out through the final corner. Luciano Wittfer will go to take victory at Silverstone. We're going to have a drag race for second. Incredible scenes. There's contact, and there's a big spin for Jonas Gerhardt as Mihai Neg will cross over the line, and it's a DQ for Gerhardt over the line. That is huge drama courtesy of the contact, which leaves Mihai Neg and Sven Mackenberg on the podium. With Luciano Wittfer taking the victory, it means it'll be 50 points apiece for Luciano Wittfer and Mihai Neg. What an end to this race at Silverstone, and what disappointment for Jonas Gerhardt. Yeah, of course, coupled this with the spin and the contact, and presumably an off-track as well, that's a DQ. Big shame. Breach of the point. I did wonder, he was abusing track limits quite a lot there at the end of the race. And you know, every time you breach track limits, every time you make contact, you get your instant points. You breach them too many, you get a straight DQ. Is what it is as we look at the results from the race. Of course, Luciano Wittfer going up to the race victory and taking it, was second in the previous race. Mihai Neg and Sven Mackenberg on the podium. The same 3 that were on the podium in a slightly different order than the previous race, with Victor Straetmans, Petter Daniel, Evtushenko, Toth, Prinder, Maximin, who finds himself now in 9th position, but with the fastest lap of the race, and Kovalevsky, who finds himself inside the top 10. Working your way down into the second part of the order, of course, you can see DQs for Gerhardt and for Felix Bjorn. Gaspar Misch missed out on the opportunity of getting inside the top 10 with 11th position. Obrotau, Barriere, Cravey, Klein, Mickey Vitz, of course, Charlie Monk never really took to the race start anyway. Well, that was dramatic, Zach. Well, yeah, that's one way to put it, for sure. What an ending, and it was all thanks to how aggressive Neg and Gerhardt was, where Mackenberg was able to, of course, nip his way on the inside very nicely. Of course, into club, it does get a little bit tight with that sausage curb on the right-hand side, and unfortunately Gerhardt was the recipient of some unfortunate contact. But all in all, a great race and a very good round for Luciano Wittfer. Yeah, incredible. He moves into 2024 with an incredible lead in the championship. Impressive stuff. A reminder as to the calendar, we'll be back in the Praga Cup on the 24th of January, which will be a fantastic and enthralling round. But of course, if you can't wait that long, and you fancy some MX-5s at Daytona for their series finale, we are back with the RaceRoom Ranked Championship on the 10th of January. And if you're sick of my voice and you fancy a little bit of Cam Roger and Dara Thacker, well, those are the 2 that will be on for that round. It's Cameron Roger and, of course, Ewan O'Leary for the season finale in the RaceRoom Carrera Cup. So that's myself and Cam on in the season finale of the Pragas. And at the moment, Zach, it does look as though it's a fairly secured, at least one hand on the trophy for Luciano Wittfer. Yeah, I'm kind of upset that I'm not on comms for the rest of the season, to be
Good.
honest. But I've enjoyed. I've done what, 5 rounds up to
Yep.
this point. I've done all 3 championships. I'm quite grateful for that. It's been good, and thankfully I've only had to share 1 round in the commentary booth with Lewis. I had Dara for most of it. He's he's all right.
You did.
So it's all good. And Ewan for the other one. The
Yeah.
commentary siblings. For your Indianapolis. So yeah, all in all, it's been a really good time in the commentary booth. Of course, I'll be eagerly watching from the YouTube chat going into the new year. What a way to kickstart 2024.
Yeah, you didn't get to commentate with Cam because me and him were too busy doing the British Formula 4 Esports Championship. So have fun with that one. Of course, that ends things here in 2023. We thank you so much for joining us over the year, whether it's been in the RaceRoom Ranked Championship, whether it's been in any of our special events. Of course, it's been an incredible year for us as we've grown as a platform and as a commentary team and as a broadcast as well. So shout out to Chris, who's been playing things behind the scenes all of the time. We hope to see you again in the near future, but of course, don't forget to have a lovely time over the holiday season, and also welcome them in the new year in the right way possible. Hopefully, you've not got a hangover by the time we get into Daytona in the 10th of January. That's a long hangover. So we'll wait for that one. But either way, for myself, Lewis McGlade, from Zach Sweeney, and to be fair, from Cam Roger, Ewan O'Leary, and Dara Thacker, for us here in 2023, it is goodbye. We'll see you in the new year. Until then, bye bye.
Do you also feel the same as this car enthusiast? He's reached his vehicle dream, but suddenly the original black wheels seem a bit boring. A colourful detail would add a lot more pep. And a little eye-catcher to match the paint would make the car perfect. Customization options don't only transform the wheel to visually match the vehicle, but also provides one-of-a-kind look on the road. The wheel color, rim protectors, center caps, valve caps, and even the wheel bolts can be configured and designed individually using style components of the new BBS Unlimited wheel system. And here's how it works. The BBS Unlimited base wheels are available in a total of 8 different colors, whether it be a glossy, satin, or polished finish, or from a deep indigo blue to racing gold to a rich bronze. Rim protectors are a colourful detail to visually enhance the wheel, while preventing damage from curb contact. In addition, the rim protectors can easily and quickly be replaced and renewed at any time. In total, 6 different designs are available. The center cap completes the wheel, so how cool would it be if it could also be customized? BBS Unlimited Style makes this possible. It's available in 56mm and 70.6mm diameters and can be applied in a variety of ways with the BBS logo. The center cap is available in 2D or 3D embossing, as well as in several color variations. And with the 3D rotation cover, the BBS logo remains visible to everyone, even when the car is in high gear. The valve caps complement the wheel in 6 different colors. This gives the individual wheel an even more coherent look. You can even choose the wheel bolt in the last step to match the wheel. Available in black, silver, and even titanium. With the help of the BBS Unlimited style components, you're able to create a work of art out of a conventional wheel, according to your own wishes and ideas. Just take a look at our configurator, and after a few clicks, you can already start designing the perfect wheel for your vehicle. Do you have any questions about customization? Then contact the wheel expert now.